Welcome to SAM Conversation, a program of South Asia Monitor. Today we are going to discuss India-Nepal relations, and for that we have Lieutenant Gen Shokin Chauhan, former Director General Assam Rifles, one of the largest paramilitary force in the world, and a former Defence Attache to Nepal. Gen Chauhan is a Gurkha officer who's had very heavy experience, operational experience, both in the western and eastern sectors. In particular, China and in the east, and has also had very has had wide exposure to media, being an officer who's posted to the media relations branch of the Indian Army headquarters. You know, when you talk about there's so many similarities between Nepal and us. We having served in the Indian Army and having served, having served with the Gurkhas, at times you forget that number of them are from Nepal. And that's a very, very special relationship we've had. There are other aspects of the India-Nepal relationship, you can say the civilian, political civilian aspects, which different, although there are times when one affects the other. To begin with, I'll request Gen Chauhan to briefly give us, an idea of what it was like being the defense attaché at Nepal, and around which time it was, if you could please mention that. Gen Chauhan.
Thank you, Colonel Bhat, for inviting me on your show. I've been a frequent invitee, talking on both the Northeast as well as on Nepal, as well as Kashmir, on various forums, and especially your show. And it's always such a pleasure to be on this. Thank you so much. Nepal is a small little country on the Indo-Gangetic Plain. It is probably, as a country, located in such an important strategic location of ours. And since I am from the Gurkha Rifles, Nepal was a very important country when I was growing up. My father works for the Gurkha Rifles. And in fact, Nepali was one of the first languages I learned when I was a very young child. I had the occasion to visit Nepal many times as a young officer. And subsequently, it was a great honor that I was selected and nominated to be India's Defence Attache in Kathmandu, Nepal, from 2004 to 2007. Time, Nepal was politically lost. Very difficult Maoist insurgency going on. In between the Maoist insurgency, the king took over. King Gyanendra took over the reins of the country. But unfortunately, this only incensed the people of Nepal, who started.
Shokin, if you could be a little louder, please. Just a little louder.
Hear me?
Yeah, now better. Better now.
Okay. So it was actually during this time that the King Gyanendra took over the reins of the government. And when he took over the government, this further incensed the people of Nepal. And as a result, it started what was known as Jan Andolan 2. And I was privileged to witness this huge political change that was happening in Nepal from 2004, the middle of 2004 when I landed up, to the end of 2007 when I finally left the country. So it was a very important moment in history for Nepal. I was privileged to witness it, and therefore I decided to write this book, not on what I saw, but on everything in Nepal and what is most important to us. Uh, about Nepal, as Indians, I thought that we must, there is very little knowledge that people have of Nepal, and I thought I must write this book so as to educate my fellow countrymen as well as my, members from the armed forces about the importance of Nepal.
That's the
right,
book.
sir. That's right.
Bridging Borders. Yeah, please.
It gives me great pride to see it in your hands, sir. And indeed, I'm privileged to be interviewed by you talking about me. Thank you so much.
It will be my pleasure to read it and to review it also. Gen Chauhan and I, apart from being from the same school, St. Columbus, Delhi, we met in very unusual circumstances when I was posted in Imphal as the Defense Ministry's Public Relations Officer, and Shokin's battalion was there, 11 Gurkhas. And it's when he stopped my vehicle to take a lift, and that's when he saw that I was in civilian clothes, and I was wearing the school belt. That's how he caught me, and it's been a wonderful association since. You yourself mentioned that you were there in Nepal at a very very eventful period. The first thing that comes to me is two major aspects. Do you see any Chinese factor affecting India-Nepal relations in the recent past? You can say since 2020 or so. Gen Chauhan, you were posted there in Kathmandu at what was a very eventful time. What was the, if I may, what was the status of India-Nepal relations at that time?
Well, when I was in Kathmandu, sir,
Briefly.
We were very close to the Nepalese government. I remember, meeting the Prime Minister of Nepal, Girija Prasad Koirala, once he had taken over from the king post the 2006 Jan Andolan. We were very close, sir. They depended on everything. We'd help them out. We were giving them a lot of support. And we were very happy with the way things had turned out for us. But unfortunately, over the last 10, 15 years, we've gone through many changes in our relationship. And that's mainly because once the communists came to power, Chanda and Oli, they decided that their main support would come from China and not from India. So politically, they changed tack, and though they continuously kept on saying that India is important, but politically they changed tack and started going to China. And I remember when the Jan Andolan was going on, and when the Maoists, as they used to call themselves, the PLA of the Maoists, the Chinese government would not refer to them as the PLA or the communists. They would call them anti-government forces. So the Chinese at no point supported the PLA or the Chanda during the Jan Andolan period, during the Maoist insurgency. But post the insurgency, the Chinese were very quickly changed tack and started supporting Prachanda. Then, as his party split, started supporting Oli and all the other communist parties that exist today in Nepal. So that's the change that has taken place politically, sir. China has always been a part of Nepal's political ecosystem. The reason is that if you look at the location of Nepal, you see, you see towards the north is Tibet, and towards the south is India. And as their founding father, Prithvi Narayan Shah, used to say, Nepal is a yam between two boulders. The kingdom of the north, that was China, and had under its suzerainty Tibet, and the kingdom of the south, that was the colonial part, Britain, and now later India. So it's always been a struggle between these two powers.
And
yeah.
We're losing your audio a bit, please.
So it's always been a struggle, in Nepal about the ecosystem of political ecosystem in Nepal. As I said, the important thing was that in Nepal's foreign ministry, if you go to their foreign ministry, you will see a huge quote by Prithvi Narayan Shah, the founding father of the Nepalese kingdom, Nepal kingdom, in which he says that Nepal is a yam between two boulders, and the two boulders are kingdom of the north, that is China, and Tibet, and the kingdom in the south, that is India. And over the last couple of centuries, Nepal has always balanced this relationship with the north and the south. Post the Treaty of Thapatali, when they found that the British colonial power was more powerful, they junked the Chinese connection and they came closer to the British connection. And as a result, were not colonized by the British, but remained as an independent kingdom with a British resident in Kathmandu. Subsequently, when we got independence and India lost the 1962 war, Nepal realized that India could no longer look after her security interests, and therefore started slowly distancing herself from India. And as a result, by 1967, Nepal had distanced itself and asked the Indian military training team that was in Nepal to help the Nepalese army, the Royal Nepalese Army, reorganize. So when that happened, one could realize that here was a change that was coming about, because they were realizing that India could not look after security interests. Therefore, they started going towards China. But China was not what China is today. China did not have the confidence of taking any kind of cudgels against the world powers. So China too bided her time till 2012. Once President Xi took over and he decided that China must now flex some muscles, that's the time when he started becoming more and more aggressive in his foreign policy towards Nepal and towards the countries on India's periphery. And as a result, today, the communist governments, successive communist governments in Nepal have continued to play this game of India against China, but more or less leaned more towards China than towards.
Tell me, has one had heard reports about the Agniveer scheme um, having an effect on the relationship. Would you like to elaborate on that?
Definitely, sir. So we actually one of the mainstay of the relationship between India and Nepal was the presence of Nepalese origin soldiers in the Indian Army in 8 Gurkha regiments. That is the first, the third, the fourth, fifth, and then the eighth,
Eighth,
ninth, and 11th Gurkha
11th.
regiment. Yeah, so we were 8 regiments, and Britain had taken 4 in between. So 2nd, 6th, 7th, and 10th went to Britain. And we have about, at any time, about almost 39,000 soldiers serving in the Indian Army. And this was the cornerstone of our relationship with them. Let me just try and put it in perspective for you. Today in Nepal, all over Nepal, from east to west, we have something like 128,000 Nepalese origin Indian soldiers who served in the Indian Army who draw pension from us. And as a result of this pension, there is almost a direct infusion of something like 8,000 odd crores in a year. That is a huge factor in the Nepalese economy. It's a direct infusion. That money goes to these people. But who are our soldiers then? Our soldiers, because they get a fair amount of money as compared to the standard of living in Nepal, are in their villages opinion shapers. The richest in their villages, the best of. And because they are opinion shapers, best educated, their children are well educated because they were educated in schools in India. They are politically very savvy and well organized. So India's greatest advantage was these soldiers from Nepal. And this relationship continued till we continued to recruit from Nepal. And we used to recruit almost 1,000 soldiers a year, with Britain recruiting about 100 soldiers, which included almost 20 soldiers, which Britain recruited for the Singapore police every year. So this relationship had political strength, it had a military relationship, it had a economic relationship, and in many ways was the cornerstone of our relationship. Besides, of course, the fact that we have close cultural ties with them, they are our neighbors. All Nepal's rivers flow into India. This also was a very important part in their lives. And when this started waning about 3 years back, 3 to 4 years back, when we stopped recruiting, because our political masters decided that we would now recruit only Agniveer, that people would serve only 4 years. And after 4 years, only 25% of them would serve the balance of their time. This Nepal said was against the tripartite agreement of 1948, wherein we had Britain, India, and Nepal had a treaty wherein we said that we would treat Nepalese soldiers similar to the soldiers, to how we treat Indian soldiers in India. So while technically it was not something that we are doing wrong against the treaty, but Nepal felt slighted that India did not consult them on the agreement, and therefore stopped sending her manpower to serve in the Indian Army. It's been over 3 years now that we have not got a single soldier from Nepal.
I see.
And
3 years.
Certainly affected. Yeah, it has certainly affected our relationship. Yeah.
Because of the Agniveer scheme, for 3 years now, you've not received any Nepali origin soldier.
Not a single soldier. Not a single soldier.
And for how much longer do you think this status will last? For how much
I
longer will
hope,
this?
I hope,
No, will
yes,
there
I
will there
hope,
not
sir,
be
we
any?
are able. I hope we are able to find the solution, sir. The Nepalese soldiers are excellent soldiers. They are the cream of the Nepalese society.
Yes,
They're
yes,
strong, they're intelligent, they're well educated,
no doubt.
and they are more than anything else, you know, a
No,
plus for the Indian Army. And more than that,
no, they're
they they are a huge relationship requirement that India needs to have. If we are getting the best soldiers into India, sir, these soldiers then don't join anywhere else. Otherwise, you've heard that, the PLA is making overtures to them. They have been now serving in Russia. Uh, Parts of them are serving in the US. Some of them are
yes.
serving in the Foreign Legion. If there are no jobs in Nepal, where will Nepal's able-bodied manpower go? If the PLA offers them good terms, they will certainly go to the PLA. And if they go to the PLA, having soldiers so close to our border who have served the PLA would be naturally a very strategic defeat for us. Part of having these soldiers was that because there is no fence between India and Nepal, these soldiers would be our natural defense against any inimical elements coming into India. And unfortunately, by removing them, we are removing our natural defenses that exist in Nepal. The second thing, as I said, sir, that these are very politically savvy ex-servicemen. They are they are people who are able to shape opinion,
Yes, yes,
and that
no doubt.
opinion shapers and that opinion shapers they were shaping opinion towards India, which is very important. You can
They,
imagine, sir, which
no
country
doubt, no doubt,
has
no doubt.
128,000 people being paid directly by us. They belong to us. And I remember as a DA going to them in Nepal and speaking to them, and they would say, "Sahab, हमने भारत का नमक खाया है. हम भारत के हैं. We are brothers. And more than brothers, we will protect Bharat till our last drop of blood."
Absolutely, absolutely. No,
And
they
this relationship was strengthened by their children and their grandchildren coming to us. You see the
generations
relationship,
following.
absolutely. And their children were educated here. When I was there in Kathmandu, and Girja Prasad Koirala had taken over the government, and the elections had been held, I just did a brief survey of how many ex-servicemen children were MPs in the Nepalese House of Parliament. You'd be surprised that out of the 500 odd, there were 62 of them who were children of our ex-servicemen. That's a huge
Very,
number,
very significant. Very,
very significant number. People we could have been talking to, people we could have, you don't need, with the kind of education they've got, with the kind of training they've got in India and in the Indian Army, you don't need to manipulate them. They have such wonderful memories about India. So by taking them away or by stopping them, we have created problems for ourselves.
no, I must. It's very disturbing because the Gurkha soldier for us, for the Indian Army, has been exemplary. He's very professional. He's very brave. Like God bless his soul, Sam Bahadur, Sam Manekshaw used to say, if you find a chap who's doing things beyond anyone's expectations, he's either a Gurkha or he's mad. I mean, he
Even
said it
even
in a
even
very
today,
complimentary way.
absolutely. Even today, the best
Yes,
infantry
yes,
units are Gurkha units.
and they they have no what is so touching is that they have shed blood for India. They have, with a lot of with a lot of spirit, with a lot of josh, they've shed blood for us. They fought, and they fought very, very bravely, and to lose such you know such a resource, such a to have such a relationship affected is certainly not done you know doesn't spell well for the army. Um, I do you see any um, do you feel there is enough of concern about this in the government, or do you think there is anything that the government is going to do to at least, even if it means making an exception in the Agniveer, scheme or system?
We must make an exception, sir. Absolutely must. It's important for us to understand that this is a very fabulous resource belonging to a country which is inside our defensive system. Nepal is on the, located strategically on the head of our core of India.
Of
That's the
course, of
Indo-Gangetic
course.
plain. And we do not need enemies there, sir. We need friends. We need people who like us. We
Absolutely,
cannot have
absolutely.
inimical elements in Nepal. Nepal has to understand that they are a part of India's ecosystem, security ecosystem. And we must give them the greatest regard and respect. They are also the upper riparian. All Nepal's rivers flow into India. And that's a huge advantage.
No doubt, absolutely no doubt. And I sincerely hope that the government, is going to do something about this, because we cannot afford to. The Gurkha Brigade is a very, very essential part of the Indian Army, uh, right from right from the we can't forget about the First and Second World Wars, because they were fought under the British flag. The fact remains that it was 25. It was 1.5 million, 15 lakh Indian soldiers who won the British the First World War, the Allies the First World War, and it was 25 lakh Indian soldiers who won the British, the Allies, the Second World War, and many of them were Gurkhas. And the British swear by them. They've not, they've not. Uh, they still hang on to them, and so should we. And I feel that is a uh, very important part of the diplomatic relationship.
Absolutely,
One
sir.
is
And I just hope we understand that, and just hope that we are able to change our plans and thoughts. The RM, Sri Rajnath Singh, had indicated that the government was open to relooking at the Agniveer scheme. So I'm hoping that they will relook at it, and we'll be able to get back our Gurkha brothers into our Gurkha Brigade, because they're extremely important to us.
um, uh, 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 Shokin, thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to add, um, to apart from whatever we have discussed?
Sir, thank you for getting my book. Thank you for talking about it. This book is important to me. I have
Your
it's
book
part of
your
my.
book will be read with a lot of. Um, I'm looking forward. I've just started reading it, and I will be reviewing it and having it published in a number of publications.
Thank you
Um,
so much, sir. This book is
and
important
would you
because
briefly
of my
like to
feelings about Nepal.
would you briefly like to just briefly give out what what is the importance of your book?
See, the issue is that while there are a lot of academics who have written books on the India-Nepal relationship, there are none who have written about our military relationship, which I feel is the cornerstone of the relationship between India and Nepal.
Good.
There are
I
none
mean,
who talk about the kind of work that the Indian military does in Nepal. There are none that talk about the background of this military relationship. I have covered the battles. I have covered Nepal's battles. I have covered Indian Army's battles. And I have covered their bravery.
briefly, Gen Chauhan, do you have anything else to add to some of the very important points that we've discussed?
Just a couple of issues, sir. Firstly, Nepal is an extremely important strategic country for us. It is important because it is within our defensive system, in the sense that it is in our side of the Himalayas, and it is extremely important for us that Nepal understands this need of India to secure itself. And we must make Nepal understand, as well as we must understand that Nepal is a sovereign country and needs to be treated as a sovereign country and not as some kind of lackey of India. That's the first issue. The second issue is that we must understand that all Nepal's rivers flow into India. So as far as India is concerned, the Indo-Gangetic plains, which are the core of India's civilization, the waters from Nepal flow into India there. And Nepal is the upper riparian. So it would, we wouldn't want anything to happen to the waters that flow from there. We would like to control the flow from Nepal so that we don't have floods. At the same time, that water is extremely important for our civilization. That's the second point. The third point is that we need Nepal's people to be with us. We need these Gurkha soldiers to be a part of our army. And we wouldn't like inimical elements, especially the PLA or China or even Pakistan, to start recruiting them, because we cannot afford to have enemy soldiers at our very vulnerable point.
Enemy countries, two enemy countries who,
Absolutely.
who would
Absolutely.
start recruiting them.
Yes. So we cannot have that. It's extremely important for us to know.
Absolutely.
And that we cannot build fences everywhere. To build another fence along a 1776-kilometer long Indo-Nepal border would be very costly in terms of manpower, in terms of people, in terms of economy. And we must secure ourselves with the goodwill of people rather than creating fences. It is in our interest that we continue to have a great relationship with Nepal. It is in our interest that we continue to help Nepal achieve its economic gains. It is in Nepal's interest to take advantage of India's economic miracle and to understand that China is using her, whereas India is an actual brother. For Nepal, she is India open. She's not landlocked, she's India open. That is something that Nepal must understand. I have mentioned this in my book. Thank you for talking with me. I wish you to read this book and read the message that my book underlines, that we two are great friends. We must continue to be great friends. We are natural allies. We are natural. We are a civilization. That we are one people, but two nations. That's the most important lesson. Thank you so much, sir, for getting me to your show and to cover my book.
Thank you, Shokin Chauhan. You have brought out some very, very important points. And it is, the government must take note of the fact that for 3 years are losing, are not getting any soldier from Nepal into the Indian Army is a very great and crucial loss. And this must be made up. It must be made up by whichever way, whether you make an allowance in the Agniveer system or you make changes to it, whichever way, this is one resource we must not lose. And that this relationship goes much beyond, because there's There's the Gurkhas from Nepal have fought for India. Fought, they've dedicatedly fought and shed their blood, willingly shed their blood. And this is one relationship which must only be strengthened and not weakened. Thank you very much, Gen Chauhan. All the best.
Thank you, Colonel. Thank you very much.